Hello everyone, today we're gonna take a look the very first video of my course, which is a master Ospf. The Ospf is a routing protocol that is widely used in the IT industry, and Ospf needs students who are learning Ospf, they need to understand the basic fundamentals of Ospf, and that is what we are taking in this video. I chose to just show you the process that Ospf takes when the Ospf is the process how to turn on the Ospf, because there are certain ways, certain behavior that Ospf uses, and that's what I want to show you. For example, now if I show you what I mean, Ospf has a certain characteristics. The first characteristic is, if you go to Ospf now, if I go show IP interface brief, we don't have any interfaces up. So the first Ospf characteristics is the Ospf must have an interface that is up and up, and we don't have anything up and up. And the second thing, the Ospf needs an IP address that must be assigned on that interface, so the Ospf to work. So now we don't have any anything running. I just pull out these two routers and I just turn it on, but nothing is going on here. So now if I go to R1 and I say router Ospf 1, then the Ospf will complain straight away. You see, the Ospf says like router ID, no router ID. So Ospf process failed to allocate a unique router ID and cannot start. That means Ospf need an IP address, and to have an IP, to use the IP address, the interface that is assigned to that IP address must be up and up. So what I want to do now to make sure that Ospf is we meet the Ospf requirement, we will go to interface. For example, let me exit back. Let's exit back on the router mode, Ospf mode. So if I say interface gigabyte, because we have a gigabyte interfaces right here. So if I say gigabyte, interface gigabyte 0/0, no shutdown, then I give an IP address. For example, 192.168.1.1 is the one we have at the subnet right here. 255.255.255.0. If I go back now to Ospf, to turn on the Ospf will not complain right now. Now look, it's not complaining. The reason is that because we gave what it needs as a requirement, and that is the interface must be up and it must have an IP address. So if I check the interface, show IP interface brief, then we have an interface gigabyte Ethernet 0/0, and it is up and up. You see, line protocol must be up, and manually administratively must be up. So the command shutdown that I used before, that command under interface, because when I was in the interface, I said interface gigabyte 0/0, no shutdown. That command took care of administratively shut down. But line protocol was taken care of because of the end device connected it. So now in this case router is connected. So line protocol always means something must be connected on the other end. And if it is administratively down, sometimes you will encounter administratively down and line protocol is up sometimes. And sometimes you will encounter line protocol down, administratively down, line protocol up, or line protocol down, administratively up. But just this is outside of the Ospf, but make sure that you have one interface at least with an IP address. Okay, so now if I go, for example, show IP ospf, that command, and on the right on the top of this command we have the ospf routing process is the ospf with an ID 192.168.1.1. That means ospf requirement was to have an IP address, to have an interface, and that interface must be up and must be assigned to an IP address. Okay, there are two criteria that ospf needs. I mean, to function, it needs this line right here. The gigabyte can be Ethernet 0, can be interface fast Ethernet 0. It's just an interface with an IP address assigned. That's the first requirement. So ospf has another optional thing, which if you have a loopback IP address assigned and you have a loopback configured, and that loopback interface will be preferred. That loopback IP address, ospf prefers that loopback IP address instead of ospf using this IP address. Now it is using this IP address because nothing else is available. We only have that IP address, so now it is using. But if we had a loopback address, then it would prefer the loopback address, even if the loopback address is a lower address than this address, because the loopback address is always stable unless someone deletes or makes or issue no shutdown. It will not shut down, it will not go down, but the interface can go down for some reason, and the end device can go bad, so anything can happen. That is why it's always preferred that you have a loopback on, so ospf automatically will take that loopback instead of active because now it is this number, this IP address is the active interface. What they mean by active interface, because the active interface must be up and at the same time up and up, yeah, and at the same time it must have an IP address assigned. You understood? And also let me go to R2 to R1. I'm sorry, to R2, and same. If I go to router without okay, we show IP interface, but if we have nothing here as well, so if I go to router ospf 1, now it will complain again. But if I go and issue this command interface gigabyte Ethernet 0/0, and I say no shutdown, and I assign an IP address which is the neighbor, which is the range of 192.168. And sorry, here I made a mistake, because what I did was I gave 1.1, just I didn't follow this one. This one is a 2 alif, so it's just the same anyway, but I'm just making sure that you know we match the same criteria. So I'm going back to R1 and say IP address 192.168.2 alif.1.255.255.0. I'm just doing a, just want to match that one, no problem. So the 2 alif dot 255.255.255.0, and then if I do ping on the other side 192.168 on R1 2 alif dot 1, then we have to ping. Yep, we are pinging. And if I do now, I mean that I'm just checking connectivity in this device. In this, if I say show IP, as I said before, ospf, now ospf has this active number, this active IP address, and ospf now it should change. IP ospf, now ospf should change. I do believe it should change. Now we still have this one, but you know, because it does ospf. On the other hand, ospf is stable, so it does not change the IP address that that it chooses on the first place, unless you reload the router, or you shut down the interface, or you clear the process. So if I do the clear process, the way I would do is, let me go back. So now if I say show IP ospf, ospf has still there it has a 1.1 with I change it from the interface, because I change the interface and I give, well, let me check, show run interface gigabyte 0/0. So I'm gonna check the interface that. So look, I have changed the IP address of the interface, but Ospf shows this IP address on the first place because I made a mistake. I made it instead of 12 just 1. So now it is not changing the IP address, and it's not changing the ID, which is the IP address of 1.1, unless we reload or we shut down the interface, or we turn off the router and turn it back on. So let me just clear the process now. So the way you clear the process is clear IP Ospf process, and then you say yes, and now it has to start again. So if I show IP Ospf, now it should change. Yeah, now look, it should change. It changed it already. Okay, you got it. So now if I say show IP Ospf neighbors, yeah, because we did not advertise any network. So before I advertise, the next lecture will be an advertising a neighbor adjacency. But now I just want to show you that Ospf needs an IP address to work with. So now if I just go now and to show you that it prefers the loopback IP address, if I go now and say 1.1.1.1.1 255.255.255.255, and I go to, so before previously I just showed you that I cleared the process. Now I will shut down the interface. So I want to show you the different interface, the different ways that you can manipulate that. Ospf should prefer the the 1.1.1 because of the IP address. Now it didn't. Sometimes it takes. Sometimes it doesn't. It does not take it because because of the GNS problem. Everything else is okay. So let me go back to the interface and shut down again. Shut down. Wait a little bit until the line protocol down, and then let me check if the it still has the same number, same IP address. Yeah, it is still, because sometimes GNS3 is the problem. Okay, if we clear now, let me use the clear IP address, clear IP Ospf process, and then we say yes. And then we say yes. And let me just check if that changes. Yeah, because the IP address, the GNS3 sometimes it's just crazy. So what I do now, I'll just save, and then I will turn off this router, and I will turn it back on. Now turn off that guy, turn it back on. Now it should take. So we're gonna finalize this lesson right here now, because that was the initial process of the Ospf. So now let me just wait. So sometimes routers, they don't, GNS routers, they've got some problems. So I just turn off and turn it back on. Show IP Ospf. Let me check it. Yeah, now you see it has changed. Before it was, now we change it to 1.1.1, as you can see. Routing process with the Ospf, and then it with a routing process Ospf1 with the ID 1.1.1. And as you can see, before we turn it off, it was just taking, where it was in. It was just it was 12.1. And I hope this has been informative, and I see you on the next lecture.